Today is, as I said earlier, an opportunity to participate, and music is a big part of that. And I love that song, Release and Be Free. How many of you know that you have a little something to release? Just a little something, something. Just a little something to release. And how many of you know that there's some way in your life that's calling you to be a little more free? This day, New Year's Eve, tonight people will sing Old Lang Syne. You watch the new year come in, and as we watch one year come to an end, there's all kinds of lists out of all of the things that happened last year, and we all have our lists, We have these lists of everything that happened in our lives this past year, and some are wonderful, and we can see the blessings written all over them. Some were heartbreaking, and it's just really caused us to be in that state of grief. Some of them have a giant question mark on it, and we're still going, well, I don't know quite what that one is. The jury's out on that. But we all have our lists that are coming to an end, and so New Year's is this opportunity to work with the natural laws of the universe. If you look out this window and look at these trees, if you just sort of landed on this planet, so to speak, you may look and think, gosh, everything's dead. The grass is dead. The trees are dead. It's all dead. But we know that's not true. We know that it's just dormant, that it's just one stage of its capacity to express. And nature reminds us of the same thing, that nature is all continually transforming. The nature of nature is to evolve. The nature of nature is to release its potential. The nature of nature is to end and to begin anew. And in the course of every lifetime, we will experience many endings and many beginnings. And have you noticed that they go hand in hand? Sometimes we fail to realize that you can't have a beginning without an ending, and you can't have an ending without a beginning. You're getting married and beginning a new life. You're also ending your life as a single life. You're having a child, and you're beginning that. You're ending your life before ever having a child. And so whether we're ending or beginning, they always work together. And so it is with the energies in our life. There's always the energy of the universe that transforms the universe. Earth and nature is the great recycler. Nothing ever disappears. It just changes form. And so today we'll use the power of fire, because fire again has two properties, illumination and transformation, and we'll work with those to transform some things in our life. To begin, it helps to really understand and think about the depth of the word release. Release and be free, or release and be ready to renew. Release is both a noun and a verb. When we say release, it means liberation from anything that confines or restricts or restrains. But release also means like to release, to allow, to let out. A press release, the information is out. Or to release your love, to release something. So it's both liberation and expression. And that's the power of this opportunity today, where we use the power of ritual. Ritual combines the spiritual forces with the physical forces. It combines form. We put form to an intention, acknowledging how we are creating with the universe. So if we really, the power lies within the power that we will give it and the practice that we'll bring to it. And so today it's about being liberated and freed from anything that hinders, that restricts, that holds us back, so that we can express our light more brightly. And, that requires our willingness to change and to be changed. Christmas time, in Unity, we place a lot of emphasis on the Christ. The term, the Christ is a term that means the anointed one. We certainly celebrate the babe Jesus, the life of the man Jesus, and one who knew he was the Son of God. But his very message was, you are too. He also said in the Gospel of John, the things that I do, ye shall do, and even greater. So he was always trying to teach us, I want you to know your oneness as well. In Unity, we place a lot of emphasis on that. Joel Goldsmith, a great New Thought writer, wrote in a book titled The Christmas Letters. He said, the master teacher, Jesus, never intended that one individual or one group should be endowed with the divine consciousness that the rest of the world should have to live off of. But that his mission, Jesus' mission, was to reveal the Christ as the consciousness of every individual, that every individual might find fulfillment in the realized Christ. Every bit of spiritual light which you and I as individuals attain increase the amount of Christ consciousness that is loosed in the world. Christ consciousness is that level of awareness that sees beyond itself, that sees beyond the form. Christ consciousness is that dimension of us that transcends any form, that sees the oneness with all. And he goes on to write, as we consciously begin to realize the Christ as the identity of every individual, we are establishing the reign of Christ on earth. We do not have to belong to any teacher, any teaching, or any religion. Each of us is the temple of God, and our relationship with God has to do with an activity of our own consciousness in which we realize that we are heirs of God, joint heirs to all the heavenly riches, to the omnipresence, omnipotent, omniscience of God. And so that's what Christmas is about, is remembering that. And so right after Christmas, when we enter into New Year, it's a time for us to let go of ways that we limit and identify, and we buy into lesser stories of who we are and who we are capable of. Someone told me in the last service that they released one thing, and that one thing was self-doubt. You know, to doubt the capacity of the self. I don't know that, perhaps that's one of the greatest things that you can release, that the self that can only see as far as itself. And to let go of that, to identify with the higher self. The great poet Robert Browning wrote, "Truth is within ourselves. We must open out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape." And you see, the truth he was talking about was the truth of our identity. That because we identify so often, that we are the consciousness of God made manifest. We're spirit-based. We're spirit, essentially. And yet, he says, we're imprisoned in lesser concepts of who we are. You ever buy into any lesser concepts of who you are? And he says, because we identify as our sense-based self instead of our spirit-based self, we create stories, we set up limitations, we buy into limitations for ourselves and others. And by operating with those stories, those limitations, those judgments, we imprison our splendor, our light, that we are the light of the world. Remember the scripture that says, you are the light of the world. But it doesn't stop there. It goes on to say, let it shine. Don't put a bushel. Don't try to cover it up. But have you ever dialed your light back? Or know that, the scriptures also talk about the importance of trimming your wick. Have you ever had a candle in your house and the wick just got big and yucky, and when you tried to light the candle, it was just smoking up the house? Well, there's the importance of trimming the wick is keeping it clean, is to get rid of the residue, to get rid of what's not needed. Jesus also taught the disciples to shake the dust off their feet. When they left somewhere, and if they picked up things, that you get things attached to you, we get attached to stuff, to shake it off. When I had the pleasure of living and working on Maui for about 3 years, and one of the things that I realized and witnessed, in Hawaii, there's a very popular plant called tea plants. They came from the Polynesians, brought them over. The tea plants grow and are very, very useful. The kahunas use them in a lot of ceremony. They're believed, they're actually on some of the coins as a symbolism, as a remember of our divine power, the reminder of our divinity. They have a waxy coat on these leaves, and so they're used from everything. You can wrap food around them and cook on them. They use them as thatching to make roofs. They have medicinal purposes. So they viewed that plant as a very sacred plant. What the Hawaiians do, the indigenous Hawaiians, even today, because tea leaves grow everywhere, when they come home at the end of the day, they'll pause for a moment, and let's pretend this fern is magically a Hawaiian tea plant. That they'll come home at the end of the day and they take a minute and rub it like this. And my friends Leohu Ryder and May Edine Eau, who many of you met in June, like they would come over to my place, and before they would come in, they'd pause, and I thought, why are they knocking dust off the outdoor plants? What are they doing? And they would go over and do that for a few minutes. And then in Hawaii, also the tradition is you take off your shoes. You don't wear shoes in the house. So they would take a few minutes and do this, and then take off their shoes and go in. And I said, Leohu, what are you doing? Are my plants dirty? And she laughed, and she said, no. And she then told me, she said, do you remember the scripture where Jesus told the disciples to shake the dust off their feet? She said, well, that's probably the way you would understand it. She said, in Hawaii, we know that we are spirit. I know you are spirit. But we also forget. And so we take on burdens, and we take on judgments, and we make up stories, and we buy into limitations. And so she said, so the Creator gave us all of these sacred plants that at any time we can walk over and just shake the stink off. We just shake off whatever we picked up and just remind ourselves of our divinity. Now, can you imagine how different our life would be if every day before we went into any dwelling place? I encourage you all to do that, and I want to see if anybody gets locked up this week for dragging on the ferns outside the dentist office before you go in. That we just to let it go. And so today it's about realizing that we are always cooperating with these universal laws. I tell this, it's a true story that I like to use because it conveys such a powerful truth. It's a story of a man who moved into a neighborhood, and he would take a walk every morning, and there was a particular house that was especially beautiful. The lawn, the way it was, the beautiful plants, the way it was gardened. And he would pause every morning and just take it in. And one particular morning, as he stopped, he saw a woman working in the yard. And he said, good morning. I stop here every day and take a moment to just really appreciate the beauty of this garden. He said, what a beautiful garden God is growing here. And she stood up with her hands in the dirt and said, yes, it is. And you should have seen it when God was the only one gardening here. Yes, you see, there's some weeds that need to be pulled, right? There's some intentionality to how it goes. There's making sure that there's water. Well, so it is in our life. We're responsible for cultivating the garden of our consciousness, the garden of our heart, and for turning off our cell phones, which I forgot to mention earlier. We're responsible. We cooperate with this universal law. And so today is an opportunity. We begin by remembering that everything changes, and anytime we try to attach permanence to that which is impermanent, we create one thing: suffering. Anytime we try to attach permanence to that which is impermanent, we create suffering. And so to realize that all of life is about change, but that also means that we're all about change, that we can change. And so today you will be invited to let go and allow. Now I want to say up front that this is not a bypass to the natural, necessary grief process. If you are in the midst of going through grief, that's no different than if you broke your leg, it has to heal. The heart needs time to heal. And everyone heals differently. And so while it's not a bypass, it's not going to just magically, remove or make everything different overnight. But what it will do is it will open you and allow you to be more available and more present to what your next step is, to how you can be blessed, to what's needed in your life. So I want to begin by bringing us into that awareness of change.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. No one stays the same. The young becomes the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure, except rain comes from a cloud, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds to fly. Winter turns to spring. A wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. The young becomes the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Yes, nothing and no one stays the same. There are not many things in life you can be sure, except rain comes from a cloud, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds do fly. Rain comes from a cloud, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds to fly. Rain comes from a cloud, sun lights up the sky. Music is my life.
Yeah. Wow. If you'd give me the next song, Richard. So change. Everything must change, and that means we can change. And every time there is change, I believe it helps remember and take us to that part of us which is transcendent, immortal, the spirit. Because you see, whatever it is we're seeking in our life, it's really something that comes from our spirit. It's love, it's joy, it's peace, it's hope, it's creativity. It's those qualities that don't depend on form, but they flow through our form. And so we let go. We let go in a minute as you have an opportunity to release. It may be self-doubt. It may be there's lots of things. You'll know what yours is to release so that your light can shine more brightly, your imprisoned splendor. But I also want to remind us that sometimes we have to let go of what I heard one person say. We have to let go of our good for gooder. Now, I know that's not proper English, but it makes a good point. We let go of our good for gooder. We don't get attached to the form and way things come to us. In the Gospels, there's 3 different individuals were healed, blind people were healed by Jesus as the story goes. One of them, Jesus encountered the blind person, and it says he spat into the ground and he made these little clay mud pies and put one in each eye and was healed. Now I imagine that person ran away and said, I'm healed, and I can show you how. How? You make these 2 little mud pies and you put them in your eye and you can be healed, because that's what happened to him. And I imagine that's why the very next story, there were no mud pies involved. The blind man healed a different way. But I say that's when religion started, because you then had the Muddites and the Neo-Muddites. Oh no, it takes mud to be holy and healed. Oh no, we don't partake in mud. We attach these things. It's like when the Buddha told the story about a group of his followers that had been traveling, and they were hungry and thirsty and tired and weak and trying to get back to the village, and they encountered the river had swelled because of the great rains, and they could not get across, and they were afraid they were going to die there. And all of a sudden they saw in the water some big bamboo floating, and they went and they got it, and they were able to make some cords and put it together, and they got safely across. And the Buddha said, but who among you would believe that you would need to carry that raft with you the rest of your life? You see, things happen in our lives for a reason, a season, a lifetime, and they're meant to help us get to our next destination, our next level of understanding. And so letting go sometimes is about letting go of our attachments. I told you about my friend who gave a card to her husband. On the outside it said, you are the answer to my prayer. And you open it up and it said, but you're not what I prayed for. That we have to let go of the form of how we think we can be blessed and how it will come. So I'm going to invite you to get that little square piece of paper, the one that has a different texture to it, that's called flash paper. And please only burn this piece of paper, otherwise it gets real smoky in here. Reverend Christy, if you would prepare the burning bowls. So I'm going to lead you in a time of meditation, and then we will line up. We'll make 2 lines on these outer aisles, and you'll come up here and then go back down this aisle. So 2 lines, and if one line runs out, just make sure you're sharing both bowls. All you really need to do is let it touch the fire. There's candles all over the place. There's static cling in the air, and this kept clinging to the bowl sometime last service, so Reverend Christy will help you if she needs assisting getting it to the fire. So one question I'm always asked is, people say, oh my Lord, you think that's all I have to forgive and let go of? That there's no way I can fit on that little piece of paper everything I'm ready to release. And that's when I remind us that the psyche works in symbols. If I say to you, do not think of a car, did anybody in here not just see an image of a car? That we process life in symbols. So when I guide you, we're going to go into this time of meditation. You may have one word, one letter, one picture. You can write them all on top of each other. So don't worry about the form. Just let it be expressed. And then you'll have the opportunity to use fire, which reminds us of our capacity to work with the laws of life, that we can transform, we can be illuminated. And that nothing ever disappears, it changes form. So we're releasing this, as it were, to be fertilizer for the soul, to fuel us into our next state of being. So I breathe in, I breathe out, I take in, I give out, I let love, I release, and I know. As you close your eyes, become aware that you do breathe in, and you do breathe out. And yet ultimately you are not the source of your breath. That life is breathing you, life is animating you. We call this breath spirit. Spirit and breath, the root of the same word. And this life presence that is enlivening and breathing us is just as present and available as our very breath. And life is a process of taking in and letting out, and continually building upon all that has come before. Building upon all that has come before. That means a willingness to forgive. That means a willingness to find the gift. A willingness to build upon all that has come before in a way that can lead you to release and express more of your hidden splendor, the light that you are. As you return your awareness within, ask, what is mine to release? What no longer serves me? What is mine to release? What is my soul guiding me to let go? Maybe there's some attachment to something. Some habit or belief that undermines and limits. Some place where you're stuck or unwilling. Ask again, what is mine to release? Holy Spirit, reveal what is mine to release. And I don't have to know how, I just need to be willing. Image or symbol or word that comes up, write it on that paper. And ask again, Holy Spirit, what is mine to release? Mine to release. In some way, write a word or a symbol that expresses your willingness to let go. To release what no longer serves you, even if you don't know what it is in this moment. I'm willing to be renewed. And when you're ready, I invite you to just begin down these two outer aisles and to come forward and just let me demonstrate that all you need to do is touch and it'll flash. So come on up and then down the center. Altar front. Where you are. The altar. I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down. I set it free. Let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down. I set it free. Let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. Yes, I lay it down. Anyone else? I lay it down. Sing it out.
Set it free.
I let my heart lift your voice. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. And so this is the first important step, if you'd go to the next song. To set it free, and by your intention and cooperating, you have intentionally created space. You're willing to be free, to change. I call this, you put it on the curbside of your psyche. You've asked the universe to recycle it. Now, you may have to push out your recycle can a few times before it gets completely recycled, but have no fear. Just keep practicing. Just keep coming back to this moment. No, I let self-doubt go. I let that part of me, that self that can't see any further than itself, go. I let it go. Whatever it is, I let it go. But Aristotle said nature abhors a vacuum. That there is no such thing as absolutely empty, because the absolute is everywhere present. That's why there's a story in the Bible that says that after these spirits, these unwanted spirits were cast out, they were released and set free. It was very important to immediately take in the spirit that you wanted to take over the house. You now need to take in what it is that you want to plant and anchor next year. And so we're going to begin with this song and then take this next step of, now what is it? What have I made space for? So we affirm the freedom to be able to do this. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited. Right now. Sing it out. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited. Right now. Right now. I am free. I am unlimited. No chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited. Right now. So I invite you to take this piece of paper. And to read aloud. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I acknowledge thy presence and power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase my mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation my world according to thy perfect law. Release. Truth is within ourselves. We must open out a way to release the imprisoned splendor. And releasing this light, releasing this imprisoned splendor is never finished as long as we have skin on. As long as we're in physical form, there's more yet to be fully and freely expressed. And so now that you have created, through your intention, availability, you've demonstrated a willingness. You see, you've demonstrated your willingness. What you just released, I imagine it as putting it out on the curb, the recycle bin of your psyche. The universe is going to recycle that. You may have to push it out there a few times, but keep doing that. Let the universe recycle it into higher ways of being. And so now with this half sheet of paper, I want you to just imagine the highest and best version of yourself. It's not a version that you need create because it's already been created. It's in the beginning was the Word, was this perfect image idea, this perfect spirit, and it became flesh. This perfect idea which we call Christ in you. There is within you a perfection, a wholeness that is seeking to express. As we lay down the groundwork, as we pull the weeds, as we make ourselves available. And so as you imagine your highest and best self entering into a new year, what is yours to do? What is yours to experience? And so on this piece of paper, you write as if it were your letter of cooperation to the universe. In 2018, I cooperate with my highest self, with the laws of life, in order that I may express, in order that I may experience, in order that I may bring forth. And this letter is for your eyes only. I align with the power that is within me, the transforming, ever-renewing power of life. What is mine to do, to be, to experience? What is mine to bring forth in 2018? How am I seeking to both bless and be blessed? Maybe you're now ready to attract your right and perfect soulmate. Maybe you're now ready to further develop some talent, to create something new, to begin new and higher ways of being. And ask again, what is mine to do in 2018? What is my heart and soul desiring that I may experience? How am I being called to show up? What new aspect or dimension of this imprisoned splendor is seeking to be cultivated and developed and expressed in my life? This is your letter of cooperation. Cooperating with the laws of life, the laws of the universe. And when you are ready, you address this envelope to yourself, and then you put this in the envelope and you seal it. There will be baskets available for you to drop this off. And next year around Thanksgiving, we're going to mail it to you. And I promise you, we won't read them. This is for your eyes only. Address it to yourself, from yourself. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now. As you're finishing this up, I want to share one last story with you. True story of Franz Kafka, a Jewish novelist who was widely regarded as one of the major figures of the 20th century literature. As the story goes, Franz encountered a little girl in a park where he walked daily, and the little girl was crying because she lost her doll, and she was just upset. And so Kafka offered to help, and with the little girl and her mother, they looked for the doll and couldn't find it, and he said, well, I'll meet you both here tomorrow, and I'll continue to look to see if I can find your doll. And so they could not, he could not, but he brought a letter with him. He composed a letter, and he brought with him that next day when he realized the little girl had also not found her doll. And he said, I have a letter from your doll, but I did not find her. And the letter said, please do not mourn me. I have gone on a trip to see the world. I will write you of my adventures. And this was the beginning of many letters that Franz would meet the little girl in the park, and he would read her a carefully composed letter of the imagined adventures of the beloved doll. And the little girl was comforted. When the meetings came to an end, Kafka presented the little girl with a doll who obviously looked different than the original, so he attached the note that said, my travels have changed me. They both laughed and knew that it was a replacement doll. But many years later, when the girl was going through a trying time in her life, she happened to pull out the doll and noticed stuffed in a crevice something she'd never seen before. She took out this little piece of paper that said, everything that you are attached to, you will eventually lose. But in the end, love is there. Love will always return, perhaps in a different form. And so as we let go and allow, may we remember that there are higher expressions of love and peace and beauty and whatever it is that is yours to express that are truly waiting for you. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free. I am unlimited right now. There's one other thing that's really important to remember as a part of this ceremony is the grief process. Many people, for different reasons, are in the midst of grief. This is not a substitute, a spiritual bypass for grief. Grief is a natural healing process. What this can do is help you become more available to that natural healing process. And so please just be aware that it's not meant to be a spiritual bypass. It's meant to really help you know your next step, open you to that presence of love and peace that is always there, that is walking with you in the midst of whatever you go through. In closing, would you stand with me and sing this again? I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains